We all share that dream, right? Aging gracefully, staying independent in our own homes for as long as possible. And, there's this rise of assisted living technologies, things like smart sensors, telecare alarms, telehealth apps. They promise to make that dream more real for a lot of people. But here's the kicker, the real question. How do you actually design tech that truly helps real people in their real homes with all their, unique quirks and challenges? How do you do that without just guessing?
That's exactly it. The challenge isn't just building clever gadgets. It's really about understanding the incredibly complex fabric of daily life where these technologies have to fit in. A lot of solutions, they're developed with the best intentions, but they often fall flat because they aren't really designed in the wild. They don't fully grasp how people actually live day to day.
And that's exactly where today's deep dive comes in. We're looking at a really fascinating research paper. It's called Designing Assisted Living Technologies in the Wild: Preliminary Experiences with Cultural Probe Methodology. It's by Wherton and colleagues from 2012. It explores this project, ATHENE, which really tried to genuinely understand older people's lives first so they could then co-create better assisted living technologies, or ALTs.
Yeah, and what's so interesting here is how they tackled that gap, that disconnect between designers and the actual users. They used this pretty unique qualitative research method, cultural probes. It's an approach that goes way beyond just simple surveys or standard interviews. It tries to capture a much richer, much more personal picture of someone's life. So our mission today is basically to explore what these cultural probes are, how the ATHENE project used them, and maybe some of the surprising, sometimes unspoken insights they uncovered about what people really need from assisted living tech.
Okay, so before we dive into the ATHENE project itself, let's just clarify. These cultural probes, what are they exactly?
Right. So think of them less like a scientific questionnaire, checkbox style, and maybe more like an artistic toolkit. Does that make sense? They're basically collections of open-ended, kind of evocative materials. Things like disposable cameras back then, maybe digital cameras now, diaries, maps, stuff like that. You give these kits to participants, and the idea is they document their own lives on their own terms in their own homes over a period of time.
Ah, okay. So it's not the researcher standing there with a clipboard asking questions. It's more like empowering the participant to show what they think is important. That sounds, well, quite different.
Absolutely. It really flips the script. The original idea from Gaver and his team was all about inspiring design teams, getting them to understand users' beliefs, their desires, even their aesthetic tastes, their cultural context, through these subjective materials. It wasn't necessarily about hard data initially, more about sparking empathy, getting designers thinking differently. Now, the method has evolved, but some common features really stand out.
Like what? What are the core elements?
Well, first, they often act as capture artifacts. They encourage responses that are rich with images, not just words. Second, they support telling stories, autobiographical narratives revealing little fragments of daily life, personal histories. They also tend to make the familiar strange. They get people to notice and document mundane things that are actually really significant in their lives. Fourth, they really invite personal meaning, recording wishes, emotions, intentions, things you might not ask directly. And critically, they're inherently participatory. The user becomes the expert on their own life. Plus, they foster a different kind of dialogue between the researcher and participant, potentially leveling that power dynamic a bit.
That collaborative idea, that participatory element sounds really key. So let's talk about ATHENE. How did they take this cultural probe method and actually apply it to understanding the lives of older people in the UK?
Okay, yeah, the ATHENE project was pretty comprehensive. Their main aim was to shed light on the daily living needs of older people. But crucially, they also wanted to figure out how industry, health services, social services could all work together with older people to co-produce ALTs that were genuinely useful and usable. It's a shift from just providing tech to people towards designing it with them.
Co-production, I like that term. It really implies a genuine partnership. So how did they actually do it? How did they get people involved?
They recruited 31 participants, quite a range, age 60 up to 98. They came from diverse backgrounds, different health conditions, different levels of existing assisted living needs. Each person got 3 home visits. First visit was just an introduction, explaining what it was all about. The second visit involved a semi-structured interview talking about routines, health, social connections, technology use, that sort of thing. And at the end of that visit, they were given the Cultural Probe Kit. This had a digital camera and something called a Home and Life scrapbook. Importantly, they really stressed that using the kit was completely optional. Participants could do as much or as little as they wanted. Then, after about a week, the researcher came back for the third visit. They'd sit down together, look through the photos, review the scrapbook. This often led into a sort of home tour, where the participant would show things around the house, sparking more conversation.
A home and life scrapbook. That sounds really intriguing. What was actually in it? What kind of activities did they ask people to do?
It was an A4 booklet, pretty straightforward, with 7 different activities inside. Each one was designed to capture different kinds of information: physical, emotional, social, environmental factors, all related to health and independence at home.
Okay, break it down for us. What were some of these activities?
Sure. So first, the digital camera. Participants were just encouraged to take pictures of anything they wanted. Could be family photos, ornaments, places they went, things that annoyed them, really anything. Then there were maps, 3 separate pages for them to draw or write on, showing their relationship with important places, people, and even objects. There were lists, 4 open-ended sections: likes, dislikes, things they were comfortable with and things they were concerned about, just simple prompts. A wishes list. This asked them to write down 3 things they wanted to change or improve, starting each one with, "I would like." A body outline. Just a simple outline of a human body where they could draw or write to show areas of pain, discomfort, symptoms, or decline. A home plan, basically a blank page to sketch out rooms in their home, maybe indicate objects they used or activities they did, especially health-related ones. And finally, a diary. 7 pages, 1 for each day, split into morning, afternoon, evening. Each day also had prompts like, "What did you like about today?" and "How could today have been better?"
Wow, that is a really rich toolkit covering so many different angles of someone's life. So, okay, the researchers collected all this material. What did they find? Did everyone jump into these creative tasks?
Well, that's a really important point. No, not everyone did. About 12 of the 31 participants, so roughly a third, used the probes very little or not at all. And the reasons were varied and, frankly, quite telling. Things like limited literacy, physical problems like finding it hard to hold a pen, lack of time, or just feeling too tired, being emotionally distressed, or dealing with an acute illness. But here's the thing. Even when people didn't complete the tasks, the follow-up discussion about why they couldn't was incredibly valuable. It highlighted very real, practical constraints people face in their daily lives.
That makes total sense. The barriers themselves are data, in a way. But okay, for the participants who did engage with the probes, what sorts of insights started coming out? Give us some examples.
Oh, absolutely. The probes really brought out some fascinating stuff, often things that wouldn't surface in a standard interview. Let's look at a few. The digital camera was probably the most popular activity. It seemed to create a more informal, relaxed setting. For instance, one participant, Thenan, who was Tamil, took photos of his local community center. This led to a conversation where he explained why he hadn't learned computers. It wasn't lack of interest at all. It was lack of time because he was managing his own health and caring for his wife. Plus, he felt he couldn't burden his children by asking them for help. That's a complex mix of factors. Another participant, Ravanan, used the photos almost like a memory prompt. They revealed this really strong social network he hadn't initially mentioned, like walking a friend's child to school every day. It highlighted the importance of this long-standing friendship to his routine and well-being.
So the camera kind of opened doors to deeper conversations. What about the maps? How did they work?
The maps were great for visualizing complex relationships. Take Rhoda. She had limited mobility. Her places map showed her local shop and her own front door as these really key points for social interaction. This drawing then revealed her deep anxiety about potentially moving to sheltered housing because she'd lose those specific places, spaces that held both symbolic and practical meaning for her connection to the outside world. Her people map was also fascinating. It detailed how her 3 daughters divided up caregiving tasks. One daughter did daily check-ins, another handled shopping and brought gifts, and the third helped less due to other commitments. It showed this really intricate, unspoken family system for support. That's something an ALT provider absolutely needs to understand.
Right, it's not just family helps, it's how they help and the specific roles. What about the lists? Did likes and dislikes reveal much?
They often did, sometimes indirectly. The open-ended nature was key. Venon, the same participant from before, lifted property at home and mortgage under his concerns. When asked about it, he explained that these financial worries were so distracting, they actually caused him to forget hospital appointments. That link between financial stress and health management is huge and easily missed. Or Colin. He listed concerns about his wife's dementia, specifically mentioning her wanderings in her head. This opened up a discussion about how his existing telecare alarm, which was meant for his safety after a fall, wasn't addressing his main worry at all, his wife potentially falling if she got up confused during the night. It showed a mismatch between the provided tech and the actual core anxiety in the household.
That really highlights the need for personalization. Okay, what about the wishes activity? Did that offer a different perspective?
It did. It tapped into desires, not just perceived needs. Bilal, for example, wished he could walk alone outside every morning, but he had difficulty walking and a real fear of falling. In discussing this wish, it came out that his telecare pendant alarm only worked inside his house, so his wish immediately pointed to a clear unmet need, an alarm that could support his desire for safe, independent outdoor activity.
Simple wish, profound implication for technology design. And the body outline. How did people use that?
That was particularly useful for people dealing with multiple health conditions. Rhoda, again, not only marked her physical symptoms like pain, but she also wrote "forgetful sometime" across the head. This led to a talk about her anxiety over retrospective memory, like worrying if she'd remembered to turn off the cooker after she'd left the kitchen. Most memory aids focus on reminding you to do something, not confirming if you did something. It's a subtle but important distinction. Another participant, George, just drew "I feel tired and worn out" right across the whole body outline. This simple act opened up a conversation about his low moods and poor sleep, things he admitted he might not have brought up otherwise, especially as his mood had happened to improve by the time the researcher arrived that day. The probe captured that feeling in the moment.
Wow. And the diary. How did tracking daily life add to the picture?
Diaries gave a real window into routines and their significance. Ravanan's diary showed this very consistent daily routine that he was happy with and felt was crucial for managing his diabetes. He wanted tech that supported that routine, not disrupted it. Rhoda's diary revealed she had set morning and evening routines, but often had a lull in the middle of the day where she'd unintentionally nap, which then led to poor sleep at night. It showed how lifestyle patterns, sometimes adopted because of illness, can actually make other things worse. And Colin's diary, where he noted down incidents when his wife got up during the night, provided a comfortable, non-confrontational way for him to express concerns he was hesitant to voice directly. This led to specific discussions about what kind of telecare might offer him reassurance and peace of mind.
These examples are just incredibly rich. It's so clear how these probes created a space for people to share the messy, complex reality of their lives. So, pulling it together, what did the researchers conclude about using these probes? How effective were they overall?
They concluded the probes were successful in, I'd say, 4 key ways. First, promoting dialogue, especially sharing the photos. It just seemed to break down formality, let the participant take the lead. It was particularly good when interpreters were involved too. Second, in situ capture. Letting people reflect and record things over a whole week captured those subtle, fleeting issues that you definitely miss in a one-off interview. Third, they worked as a memory aid, helping people recall routines, specific events, experiences. This made them better collaborators, better co-producers when discussing potential ALT solutions. And fourth, cognitive offloading. Those visual tools, like the maps, helped people communicate really complex things like their social networks or family roles much more easily. It helped the researcher grasp those interdependencies.
Okay, so stepping back from the study itself, what does this all mean for us? I mean, this deep dive really drives home that designing for people, especially in sensitive areas like assisted living, means we have to go way beyond just making assumptions. We need to get into that personal lived experience.
Exactly. And it raises that big question, how do we design effectively when lives are just so complex, so interconnected? What the study really hammers home is that ALTs don't exist in a bubble. Whether people adopt them, how they use them, it's all deeply tied into their domestic routines, their family dynamics, financial pressures, even cultural norms and expectations. What's really striking is how the probes showed that sometimes a technology fails, not because the tech itself is bad, but because it just doesn't align with the person's wider life context, whether that's, the symbolic meaning of their front door, like with Rhoda, or the complex caregiving setup in a family, or even the unspoken impact of struggling financially, like with ATHENE.
Yeah, and it's clearly not just about fixing physical problems. It's about understanding desires, emotional well-being, the whole psychological landscape of someone's home and life. Although I did find it particularly important that you mentioned, and the study highlighted, that participants with significant physical or cognitive impairments actually found the probes difficult, sometimes impossible to use.
Yes, that's a critical point, a really key limitation they acknowledged. Cultural probes, while powerful, aren't some magic bullet, not a one-size-fits-all method. They need to be adapted to be truly accessible. That might mean developing versions that are less physically demanded, maybe more digital options, like Bilal used with the camera perhaps, or maybe shorter, more focused probe activities for people who tire easily. It's a good reminder that our research methods themselves have to be designed inclusively.
Absolutely. What a fascinating exploration into the sort of human core of technology design, from cameras showing us hidden social connections to maps revealing the emotional weight of just a front door.
Yeah.
This research really makes you think differently about how we approach designing solutions, especially for our aging population.
It really does. It pushes us beyond seeing need as just a medical or functional checklist. It encourages us to embrace the rich, sometimes messy, but always real lived experiences of people. Understanding the why behind the routines, their wishes, their worries, that's got to be central to designing technology that's not just functional, but truly effective and empathetic.
Couldn't agree more. And it's such a powerful reminder that the best solutions, the ones that really stick and make a difference, are probably those that are co-created with the people they're meant to help. Solutions that acknowledge their strengths, their vulnerabilities, and their unique individual life stories. So as you go about your day to day, maybe think about the technologies you use. How many of them really seem to understand your wild, your home, your routines, your relationships, maybe those little concerns you don't even voice? What if every piece of tech we encountered was designed not just for some abstract user, but with a real person taking their entire world into account to genuinely improve their quality of life in ways maybe we haven't even considered yet?